been, over the last several years, kind of fixated on some of the more challenging questions of the Christian faith. And some of it is I have the freedom now that I'm not preaching every Sunday to sit back, to relax, to dig in, to reflect. And so I've been doing that, wrestling with issues of unanswered prayer, those kind of harder questions that stretch us and that in a lot of ways we'd much rather ignore. But at the same time, there has been, it seems, at least in our lives, Linda and our lives, an increasing number of people that are close to us that are facing life-changing, radical, even life and death sort of challenges. And so I was kind of driven to Job initially because this close friend of ours who we've known for over 20 years, Mom worked for me, Dad, who is battling a terminal brain cancer, has been, last we heard, is given about 9 months to live. And so I was kind of struck, how are they dealing with this? And then I thought, well, Job speaks to suffering. So I'll go to the book of Job, and I preached on Job, I think this summer here. And so some of this for you, I recognize as a repeat. But what I went to Job for initially is for answers. How does Job speak to us in those moments when we're going, God, what is up? Why am I suffering? Why aren't you answering? Why aren't you fixing? And I think more to the point, I was curious, because I've been asked already to speak at this friend's funeral. How is Job a comfort? How is Job a comfort to their 20-something daughter who is close with Dad, who lives a good distance away and is struggling with that loss? How does Job speak to that? So I went to Job for answers. And you know the narrative of Job. I suppose most of you know it. It's a long book, 42 chapters. It opens with Job being presented. He's an unusual character, not a Jew. The book focuses on that. The book of Job is in the middle of wisdom literature, needs to be taken as that, and we can speak to that later. But in any way, it opens, it presents this man who is described as blameless, without fault, no evil. And then Satan appears before God and says, hey, this guy Job, he's just doing the nice things, obeying you because his life is good. Let me afflict him, and we'll see how good he is. And so he's afflicted. He loses everything. He loses his possession, his home. He loses his kids. And still, Job remains faithful. And then Satan comes back and says, hey, yeah, well, you take everything, but he's healthy, so he'll be fine as long as he feels good. And God says, have at it. And so he's afflicted with these boils. And so the bulk of the book, 30-some chapters, is spent with Job suffering, complaining, calling out to God. He's got these friends that show up, and you think, oh, great, here's good comfort. And for the first 7 days, they comfort him by saying nothing. They just sit with him. But then they start giving him advice. Then they start talking to him, start giving him reasons why he's suffering. And in that larger narrative, after chapter upon chapter, and finally God shows up, Job repents, and Job is restored. And that's sort of the big picture.